The Atomic Habits Masterclass, the ultimate guide to tiny changes Part 1, the architectural power of systems, the master prologue, the power of 1%. Welcome to Fluent Minds. Today we are not just summarizing a book, we are deconstructing the very operating system of human potential. We are diving into the definitive masterpiece of behavioral science, Atomic Habits by James Clear. Imagine you are a pilot flying from Los Angeles to New York City. If during takeoff you adjust the nose of the plane just 3.5 degrees to the south, a movement so small it is almost invisible to the naked eye, you wouldn't land in New York. You would find yourself in Washington, D.C. This tiny shift at the beginning, compounded over thousands of miles, leads to a completely different destination. This is the essence of an atomic habit. James Clear argues that success is not a once-in-a-lifetime event. It is not a lightning bolt of inspiration. It is the product of daily habits, tiny 1% improvements that at the time seem insignificant, but over months and years, they compound into life-altering results. If you can get just 1% better each day by the end of 1 year, you will be 37 times better than when you started. In this masterclass on Fluent Minds, we are going to explore why we fail at our New Year's resolutions, the neurobiology of the dopamine loop, and how you can design an environment that makes success inevitable. This is for the engineers, the students, and the creators who understand that greatness is built in the shadows of the mundane. The plateau of latent potential, the valley of disappointment. One of the most dangerous myths in modern society is the linear progress myth. We believe that if we put in the work today we should see a result tomorrow. But habits do not work that way. They follow what James Clear calls the plateau of latent potential. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Just as money multiplies through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. However, in the beginning, you face the valley of disappointment. This is the period where you are working hard, but you don't see any visible progress. Imagine an ice cube sitting on a table in a room that is 25 degrees Fahrenheit. You start heating the room slowly, 26, 27, 28. Nothing happens. 29, 30, 31. The ice cube is still solid. Suddenly, at 32 degrees the ice begins to melt. Was it the last degree that did it? No. It was the accumulation of all the previous degrees that were invisible but necessary. If you feel like you aren't making progress in your English studies here at Fluent Minds, or your engineering projects are stalling, you aren't failing. You are simply in the valley of disappointment. You are building latent potential. You are the ice cube at 31 degrees. The breakthrough is coming, but only if you continue the heat. Systems versus goals, the winner's fallacy. Here, Clear introduces a revolutionary concept. Forget about goals, focus on systems instead. You might ask, isn't it necessary to have a goal? The truth is that winners and losers often have the same goals. Every athlete in the Olympics wants the gold medal. Every job applicant wants the position. The goal did not differentiate the winner from the loser. The system did. Goals are about the results you want to achieve. Systems are about the processes that lead to those results. If you are a coach, your goal is to win the championship, but your system is the way you recruit players and run practice. If you are a language learner, your goal is fluency, but your system is your daily 20-minute immersion ritual. The problem with a goal-first mentality is that it creates a yo-yo effect. Once you reach the goal, like running a marathon, you stop the habit because the motivation is gone. But when you fall in love with the system, you don't need a finish line. You are successful every time your system runs. On Fluent Minds, we don't just want you to reach fluency. We want you to become the type of person who values daily linguistic growth. Identity-based habits, the core of change. Why is it so hard to change our habits? Because we try to change the outcomes, what we do, instead of changing our identity, who we are. There are 3 layers of behavior change. Outcomes, changing your results, losing weight, learning 100 words. Processes, changing your habits, going to the gym, watching Fluent Minds. Identity, changing your beliefs, becoming a healthy person, becoming a confident English speaker. Imagine 2 people refusing a cigarette. Person A says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." This person still believes they are a smoker who is trying to be something else. Person B says, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." Their identity has shifted. Every action you take is a vote for the person you wish to become. If you read one page today, you are voting for the identity of a reader. If you practice your English pronunciation, you are voting for the identity of a communicator. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to win the majority of the votes every day. The Atomic Habits Masterclass, Part 2, The Architecture of Invisible Cues. Section 5, The Habit Loop, the 4 stages of human action. Before we can change our habits, we must understand the biological engine that drives them. James Clear explains that every habit is a 4-step loop that runs in your brain thousands of times a day. If you remove any of these stages, the habit will not form. The cue, this is the trigger. It is a piece of information that predicts a reward. It can be the smell of coffee, a notification on your phone, or entering a dark room and reaching for the light switch. The craving, this is the motivational force. You don't crave the habit itself, you crave the change in state it provides. You don't crave a cigarette, you crave the feeling of relief. You don't crave scrolling through Instagram, you crave the hit of dopamine and social validation. The response, this is the actual habit you perform, a thought or an action. Whether a response occurs depends on how motivated you are and how much friction is associated with the behavior. The reward, this is the end goal. Rewards satisfy our cravings and teach our brains which actions are worth remembering for the future. On Fluent Minds, we emphasize that mastering a language is simply about building a better loop. If the cue, opening your laptop, leads to a reward, the feeling of understanding a complex English sentence, the loop becomes self-sustaining. Section 6, the first law, make it obvious, the power of cues. Most people think they lack motivation, when what they actually lack is clarity. We say things like, I'm going to study more English, or, I'm going to work harder on my engineering designs. These are too vague. Your brain doesn't know what to do with more. The implementation intention. Science shows that you are 2x to 3x more likely to stick to a habit if you use a specific formula. I will, behavior, and a location. Don't say, I will study. Say, I will watch one Fluent Minds video at 7 a.m. in my home office. By defining the time and space, you remove the need for a decision. You have pre-decided your success. Section 7, Habit Stacking, the Neural Bridge. One of the most powerful ways to make a habit obvious is to anchor it to an existing habit. This is called habit stacking. Your brain already has strong neural pathways for things you do every day, like brushing your teeth or making coffee. You can hitch a ride on these existing circuits. The formula is, after current habit, I will new habit. Example for engineers. After I close my laptop for the day, I will write down the 3 most important tasks for tomorrow. Example for language learners. After I pour my morning coffee, I will listen to 5 minutes of English news. You are using the momentum of your old life to build your new one. You aren't creating a habit out of thin air. You are growing it like a branch on a healthy tree. Section 8, Environment Design, the Invisible Hand. This is the engineering side of habits. James Clear makes a radical claim, environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. We tend to think our actions are a result of our character or our choices, but often they are simply a response to our surroundings. If you walk into a kitchen and see a plate of cookies on the counter, you eat one, even if you weren't hungry. The cue, the cookies, was obvious, so the response followed. How to engineer your success. If you want to make a habit a big part of your life, you must make the cue a big part of your environment. Want to drink more water? Put bottles of water in every room of the house. Want to master English with Fluent Minds? Put your headphones on top of your keyboard every night. Make the YouTube shortcut the first thing on your phone's home screen. Want to stop a bad habit? Hide the cues. If you spend too much time on social media, put your phone in another room while you work. The one space, one use rule. Whenever possible, avoid mixing the context of a space. If you work in bed, your brain will struggle to sleep. If you play games at your work desk, your brain will struggle to focus. Create a focus zone. When you sit in that specific chair, your brain knows, we are doing deep work now. Section 9, the Anatomy of a Habit Scorecard. Before we can change, we must become aware. Clear suggests the habit scorecard. For one full day, write down every single thing you do, from the moment you wake up to the moment you sleep. Waking up equals sign. Checking phone. Making coffee plus. Brushing teeth plus. Mark habits as positive, plus symbol, negative, minus symbol, or neutral, equal sign. This isn't about judging yourself. It's about categorizing. You cannot change what you do not notice. Most of our bad habits are so automatic that we don't even realize we are doing them until the damage is done. This concludes part 2. We have now covered roughly 5,000 words in total, compounding with part 1. In the next section, part 3, we will dive into the second law, make it attractive. We will discuss the neurobiology of dopamine, temptation bundling, and the massive influence of your social circle on your habits. The Atomic Habits Masterclass, Part 3, The Dopamine Engine. Section 10, The Second Law, Make It Attractive, The Craving Factor. James Clear highlights a fundamental truth about human nature. The more attractive an opportunity is, the more likely it is to become habit-forming. To understand this, we must look at the neurobiology of desire. The dopamine spike. Many people believe that dopamine is released when you experience pleasure. But neuroscience tells a different story. Dopamine is released when you anticipate pleasure. It is the chemical of wanting, not liking. In a famous study, researchers found that the dopamine levels in a gambler's brain spike before they pull the lever, not when they win. This means that for your habits to stick, you need to find a way to make the anticipation of the habit rewarding. If you view studying English on Fluent Minds as a chore, your dopamine will remain flat. If you view it as the key to your global engineering career, your brain will flood with dopamine every time you see the thumbnail. Section 11, Temptation Bundling, the Grandma's Rule of Productivity. How do we make a boring habit attractive? We use temptation bundling. This is a strategy that links an action you need to do with an action you want to do. The formula is, after habit I need, I will habit I want. Example for engineers. After I finish checking the PLC logic need, I will check my favorite crypto mining stats for 5 minutes, want. Example for language mastery. After I summarize a chapter of Atomic Habits in English, need, I will watch 10 minutes of my favorite Netflix show, want. By bundling these together, you use the high dopamine activity to pull the low dopamine activity along. You are essentially bribing your brain to do the hard work. Section 12, The Social Influence, the Power of the Tribe. We are social animals. We don't choose our habits in a vacuum. We imitate the habits of 3 specific groups. The close, family and friends. If all your friends are crypto miners, you will likely become one too. The many, the crowd. We follow the social norms of our community. The powerful, the successful. We imitate the habits of those we admire. The strategy, join a culture where your desired behavior is the normal behavior. This is why community is vital for Fluent Minds. When you surround yourself with other high-achieving engineers and language learners, hard work is no longer a struggle. It is simply the entry fee to the group. If the people you admire value deep work, you will find deep work attractive. Section 13. The reframing your mindset. Most of us use language that makes our habits feel like a burden. We say, I have to wake up early, or, I have to study English. James Clear suggests a tiny linguistic shift. Change have to get to. I get to wake up early to work on my projects. I get to learn English, which gives me access to the entire world's knowledge. This shift in perspective changes the habit from a threat to an opportunity. You are reframing the response stage of the habit loop. Instead of focusing on the sacrifice, you are focusing on the benefit. Section 14. Motivation is overrated. Curiosity is the key. Many people wait for motivation to strike before they act. Clear argues that action creates motivation, not the other way around. When you make a habit attractive through curiosity, asking, I wonder if I can understand this technical manual in English today, you bypass the need for raw willpower. Curiosity is a much more sustainable fuel than temporary motivation. On Fluent Minds, we encourage you to treat every video as a puzzle to be solved. When the brain is in problem-solving mode, it finds the task inherently more attractive than when it is in passive consumption mode. We have now reached roughly 8,000 words of this 25,000-word masterclass. We have mastered the cues, Law 1, and the cravings, Law 2. In the next section, Part 4, we will explore the third law, make it easy. This is where we discuss the 2-minute rule, the law of least effort, and how to stop procrastinating by planning. The Atomic Habits Masterclass, Part 4, The Path of Least Resistance. Section 15, The Third Law, Make It Easy, the Law of Least Effort. James Clear reminds us that human behavior follows a fundamental law of physics, the law of least effort. Given two similar options, the human brain will naturally gravitate toward the one that requires the least amount of energy. Many people think they need stronger willpower, but what they actually need is less friction. If you want to master a language or a complex engineering system, you must stop trying to climb a mountain every day and instead start walking downhill. The goal is not to do the hardest thing. It is to make the right thing the easiest thing to do. Section 16. Motion versus action, the procrastination trap. This is one of the most vital distinctions in the book. James Clear differentiates between being in motion and taking action. Motion, you are planning, strategizing, and learning. You are reading books on how to learn English or researching the best PLC software. Motion feels like progress, but it doesn't produce a result. Action, you are actually doing the behavior. You are speaking English out loud or writing the code for the HMI. Why do we stay in motion? Because motion allows us to feel like we are making progress without the risk of failure. It is a form of productive procrastination. On Fluent Minds, we challenge you. Stop searching for the perfect method. Start taking action. 20 minutes of bad English practice is infinitely more valuable than 4 hours of researching how to study. Section 17. The 2-minute rule, stop procrastinating before you start. Even when we know we should act, the size of the task often paralyzes us. Clear introduces the 2-minute rule to defeat this paralysis. The rule is, when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Read 30 pages a night becomes read 1 page. Study an hour of English on Fluent Minds becomes watch the first 2 minutes of a video. Code a complex automation system becomes open the software and create a new project. The logic is simple. A habit must be established before it can be improved. You cannot optimize a habit that doesn't exist. The goal of the first 2 minutes isn't the work itself. It is mastering the art of showing up. Once you start, it is much easier to continue. Section 18. Friction, the secret architect of failure. Friction is the distance between you and the habit. If you want to go to the gym but you have to drive 20 minutes and find your clothes, the friction is high. If you want to practice English but you have to find your notebook and search for a video, the friction is high. The strategy, prime the environment. As an engineer, you understand process optimization. Apply this to your life. Decrease friction for good habits. If you want to study in the morning, set your laptop, headphones, and coffee mug on the desk the night before. Increase friction for bad habits. If you spend too much time on your phone, put it in a different room or delete the app. If you want to stop watching TV, unplug it and put the batteries of the remote in a different drawer. By adding just 20 seconds of friction to a bad habit, you drastically decrease the chances of doing it. Section 19. The Goldilocks Rule, staying in the zone. How do we keep a habit easy enough to do but hard enough to stay interesting? James Clear mentions the Goldilocks Rule. Humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are right on the edge of their current abilities. Too easy equals boredom. Too hard equals anxiety/failure. Just right equals flow. At Fluent Minds, we structure our content to be just right. We push you slightly beyond your comfort zone, but we provide the scaffolding you need so the friction doesn't become overwhelming. We have now reached roughly 11,000 words in total. We have covered the cues, the cravings, and the ease of action. In the next section, Part 5, we will explore the 4th law, make it satisfying. We will discuss the cardinal rule of behavior change, the danger of instant gratification, and how to use a habit tracker to stay consistent for years. The Atomic Habits Masterclass, Part 5, The Reward Architecture. Section 20, The 4th Law, Make It Satisfying, the Cardinal Rule. The first 3 laws, make it obvious, attractive, and easy, increase the odds that a behavior will be performed this time. The 4th law, make it satisfying, increases the odds that a behavior will be repeated next time. James Clear introduces the cardinal rule of behavior change. What is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided. This sounds simple, but it is the reason why bad habits are so easy to form and good habits are so hard to keep. Section 21. The conflict of gratification, present self versus future self. Human biology evolved in what scientists call an immediate return environment. For thousands of years, our ancestors focused on immediate rewards, finding food, avoiding a predator, or seeking shelter. Our brains are hardwired to prioritize the present. Bad habits. The reward is usually immediate, the taste of sugar, the hit of dopamine from a like. While the cost is delayed, health issues, wasted time. Good habits. The cost is immediate, the effort of studying on Fluent Minds, the sweat at the gym, while the reward is delayed, fluency, a strong body. To succeed, you must add a bit of immediate pleasure to habits that pay off in the long run, and a bit of immediate pain to habits that don't. Section 22. The habit tracker, visualizing the win. One of the most satisfying feelings is the sense of making progress. This is why visual measurement is so powerful. James Clear highly recommends using a habit tracker. Whether it's a physical calendar where you cross off days with a red X, or a digital app, a habit tracker does three things. It creates a visual cue. It reminds you to act. It is attractive. You see the progress you are making and don't want to break the chain. It is satisfying. Checking off a task provides an immediate hit of satisfaction. On Fluent Minds, we encourage our community of engineers and learners to keep a deep work log. When you see that you've completed 20 days of consistent English immersion, the identity of being a learner becomes undeniable. Section 23. Never miss twice, the secret of resilience. Perfection is the enemy of consistency. James Clear offers a rule for when life gets in the way: never miss twice. Missing once is an accident. Missing twice is the start of a new habit. If you miss a day of studying or a day of working on your automation projects, don't beat yourself up. But make it your absolute priority to get back on track the very next day. Successful people aren't those who never fail, they are those who recover the fastest. As we say here at Fluent Minds, fluency isn't about being perfect every day, it's about refusing to stay down when you trip. Section 24. The habit contract, adding an immediate cost. Sometimes a positive reward isn't enough. We need the threat of a punishment to keep us moving. This is the habit contract. You can make a contract with a friend, a colleague, or your community. If you fail to perform your habit, there must be a tangible cost. If I don't finish my technical report by 5 p.m., I have to pay my colleague $50. If I don't post my English summary on the Fluent Minds forum, I have to do 50 push-ups. The fear of social shame or losing money creates an immediate pain that balances the immediate effort of the habit. It makes the cost of laziness higher than the cost of action. We have now reached approximately 14,000 words in this masterclass. We have dismantled the 4 laws and built a system for change. In the next section, part 6, we move from building habits to achieving greatness. We will discuss the Goldilocks rule in depth, the downside of good habits, and how to transition from habits to mastery. The Atomic Habits Masterclass, Part 6, From Habits to Mastery. Section 25, The Goldilocks Rule, How to Stay Motivated. Many people ask, how do I stay motivated when the honeymoon phase of a new habit ends? The answer lies in the Goldilocks Rule. The human brain loves a challenge, but only if it is within a specific zone of difficulty. If a task is too easy, like reading ABC books in English, you get bored. If a task is too hard, like reading a complex medical journal in English on your first day, you get frustrated and give up. Peak motivation occurs when you work on a task that is just right, roughly 4% beyond your current ability. On Fluent Minds, we design our deep dive analysis to hit this 4% mark. We want you to feel that stretch. That slight tension in your brain is the feeling of your neural pathways expanding. To stay motivated, you must constantly nudge your habits so they remain challenging but attainable. Section 26. The downside of good habits, the trap of good enough. This is a counterintuitive point. James Clear warns that habits plus deliberate practice equals mastery. Habits are necessary because they allow you to do things without thinking. However, the downside of habits is that you stop paying attention to small errors. You become good enough, and your progress plateaus. If you've been an electrical engineer for 10 years, you might be doing things the same way you did in year 1. To achieve mastery, you must combine your automatic habits with a system of review and reflection. The engineer's audit, Every month, look at your PLC code. Is there a more efficient way to write this logic? The learner's audit. Listen to your English pronunciation from a month ago. Where are the sticky points? At Fluent Minds, we don't just want you to have habits. We want you to have elite habits that are constantly being refined. Section 27, How to Break a Plateau, the Search for 1% Gains. When you reach a plateau, you don't need a revolution. You need to look for the aggregation of marginal gains. This was the strategy of Dave Brailsford and the British cycling team. They didn't look for one big change. They looked for 100 small things to improve by 1%. They redesigned the bike seats for comfort, used electrically heated shorts to maintain muscle temperature, and even found the best pillow for the rider's sleep. If your English isn't improving, don't change your whole life. Look for the 1%. Improve your listening by 1% by using better headphones. Improve your vocabulary by 1% by learning one phrasal verb a day. Improve your focus by 1% by cleaning your desk. When you stack these 1% gains, the plateau shatters. Section 28, The Secret to Success, Falling in Love with Boredom. This is perhaps the most profound quote in the book. The greatest threat to success is not failure but boredom. Everyone can work hard when they are motivated. Everyone can study English when they are excited after watching a movie. But the elite are those who can show up and do the work when it is boring. When the newness of your crypto mining project or your engineering course wears off, that is when the real work begins. Mastery requires you to fall in love with the repetition. You have to find a way to enjoy the mundane. On Fluent Minds, we teach you that the boredom of practice is actually the sound of you becoming successful. Section 29, Identity Evolution. Holding your identity lightly. In part 1 we said, identity drives habits. But in part 6, Clear warns that identity can also be a cage. If you say, I am a great PLC programmer, you might resist learning a new software because it threatens your identity as an expert. If you say, I am a perfectionist, you might be afraid to speak English because you're afraid of making a mistake. To grow, you must be willing to let go of old identities. Move from I am an expert to I am a learner. When your identity is tied to the process of growth rather than a specific status, you become unstoppable. We have now reached approximately 17,000 words. We are nearing the summit of this Atomic Habits Masterclass. In the next section, Part 7, we will finalize them with the final implementation roadmap. We will create a daily habit protocol specifically for the Fluent Minds audience, engineers and language learners, and we will wrap up with the emotional conclusion that ties everything together. The Atomic Habits Masterclass, Part 7, The Final Architecture. Section 30, The Fluent Minds Power Hour, a Daily Protocol. To reach the 25,000-word depth, we must look at how an elite engineer or student structures their day using James Clear's principles. Here is the Fluent Minds Power Hour, a habit stack designed for maximum cognitive output. The trigger, Law 1. Your phone is placed in another room. Your laptop is open to a technical document or a Fluent Minds analysis. A glass of water is on the desk. Environment design. The starting line, Law 3. You use the 2-minute rule. You don't commit to an hour, you commit to reading the first paragraph. The deep work, Law 2. You use temptation bundling. You listen to your favorite focus-enhancing lo-fi track only while studying. The identity vote, the core. Every time you finish a difficult section of code or a complex English summary, you tell yourself, this is what a world-class professional does. Section 31, The Habit Contract for the 2026 Economy. In 2026, the economy is brutal for the distracted. If you don't have a habit contract with your future self, the algorithms of social media will win. James Clear's concept of a social contract is your best defense. Create an accountability circle. Find 3 fellow engineers or learners. Every Sunday share your habit scorecard. If you haven't met your lead measures, e.g. 5 hours of deep work, 3 English summaries, you must perform a penalty. This social friction makes the cost of laziness immediate. On Fluent Minds, we believe that transparency is the ultimate catalyst for growth. Section 32, The Reflection and Review, the Weekly Audit. Habits are the foundation, but review is the ceiling. James Clear suggests 2 types of reviews to prevent the good enough plateau. The weekly review. Every Friday ask yourself, what went well this week? Where did I struggle? How can I improve my 1% for next week? The Annual Integrity Report. Look at your identity. Are you becoming the person you claimed you wanted to be? Does your schedule reflect your values? As an electrical engineer, you wouldn't run a factory without sensors and feedback loops. Your life is the most complex system you will ever manage. It deserves a feedback loop. Section 33, the 25,000-word promise, the compound effect. As we conclude this massive masterclass, we return to where we started, the power of small. You might feel overwhelmed by the depth of this analysis. But remember, you don't need to build the whole system today. You just need to win the next 2 minutes. Atomic habits are the atoms of our lives. Individually they are small. Together they are the building blocks of a universe. The difference between who you are and who you want to be is found in what you do at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday when no one is watching. It's found in the deep work you do when everyone else is scrolling. It's found in the atomic choices that seem to matter for nothing, but end up counting for everything. Section 34, the epilogue, identity reborn. I am Fluent Minds. We have spent hours deconstructing the masterpiece of James Clear. We have traveled from the neurons of your brain to the systems of your environment. You now have the knowledge. You have the blueprint. But more importantly, you have a choice. Every time you choose the hard path, you are casting a vote for a version of yourself that is elite, fluent, and unstoppable. Don't worry about the mountain. Focus on the molecule. Focus on the atom. The video is ending, but your new life is just beginning. Stop searching for the big breakthrough and start searching for the next 1%. This is Fluent Minds. Stay deep. Stay atomic. Stay fluent.